Down to our final match of the day on pitch one here in U.S. Quidditch Cup 9. I'm Brad Woznicki, and I'm joined by Eric Andrus and Clare Hutchinson for the first time today. And our matchup now, the LA Gambits taking on Texas A&M. Two teams coming out of Pool 9 and two teams that are 3-0.
It's a really exciting matchup here to see A&M Gambits meet each other. Gambits are a relatively new team, but old players. So we're going to see some great action on both sides.
Yeah. One of the big things about this is, yes, both teams will advance to tomorrow, but now it's all about seeding and who wants that higher seed.
Both of them.
Both of them do, but who's going to get it done, or who is comfortable taking that second spot coming out of the pool?
And knowing the experience and competitiveness on both sides, neither one will be content to sit back and just take whatever seed they're giving. They're going to fight for it.
And a good crowd on hand for Texas A&M. They've got some fans in the front row already on their feet after the first score. LA Gambits came into this weekend with a record of 22-3, and certainly one of the big players we're going to watch out for is Edgar Pavlovsky. Very familiar name, wearing number 4. Are the LA Gambits?
LA Gambits keeper Tony Rodriguez kicking it up to the key here. You're going to see a lot of and hear a lot of Tony Rodriguez coming through this game. He commands the pitch when he's playing, but A&M as a team as a whole commands the pitch too, so it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, LA Gambit's a team that is a community team with a lot of talented players, and we continually talk about the Southwest region and how tough Texas A&M will be. 1-on-4 right here and a couple of spin moves, we're right into trouble. Going down. Quaffle's still loose at the moment, or somewhere underneath that dog pile.
A&M with bludger superiority so far, but LA doing good work with the one they have on hand.
Bludger control for the LA Gambits. And the referees have stopped time just over almost 2 minutes gone by.
You're going to see a lot of dog piles happen in Quidditch, and that's something that's a very defensive struggle. And it also highlights the importance of bludger superiority, as they say in Canada, or bludger control here in the American States. But right now, the Gambits have a great bludger control, and they're commanding the pitch along with the rest of their team.
Eric, you've done your fair share of refereeing today. What surprises did you see of the matches you had today?
The great thing about refereeing is you see a surprise every game. And that's what's great about the game, Quidditch, and you see surprise with every play. But I'm surprised at the lack of physicality that I've seen from the Gambits earlier today. I ref the Gambits versus The Ohio State University, and it was a very clean game, and they're both feeling each other out the entire time and really trying to set the pace for the rest of the day, not just for the game. So it's going to be really interesting to see them as they climax here at the end of the day of day 1 at U.S. Quidditch Cup.
Yeah, and Ohio State and the Warriors, two teams in this Pool 9, coming down looking for that final spot. They played each other in the final match. Don't have the final score of that one yet, but that was a difference of 40 points in the total point differential for which team's going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, and this is a pool that's fighting for it, and like Claire mentioned earlier, they're not going to go out without a fight. Both of these teams are here for the win, here for all these points, and for the crowd.
And score there, right to the middle hoop, right off the top.
A long bomb from Tony Rodriguez still finds a target at the back of the pitch.
Showing off some athleticism there, and Texas A&M trying to return the favor. We are tied at 10 with 3 minutes gone by.
Taking up the pitch, Justine Taylor, formerly of NAU, poached by Gambits, passes it off to Tony Rodriguez to take it into the neutral zone.
NAU, a team we saw earlier today, has struggled a bit, still making it back to the World Cup.
When you see a team like the Gambits with their basis of talent and physicality and know-how, it's really hard not to say no when they come to you specifically and say, we want you on our team. Justine Taylor is small in stature, but large in personality and talent. She's definitely been a huge addition to the Gambits this year.
Now, Claire, from what you've seen from these teams over your time playing Quidditch, as we have a little stoppage in play, from what we've seen and what you've just seen so far, and what you know about these teams, who do you give the edge to in this matchup?
I think I give the edge to the LA Gambits just based on the breadth of experience and personality and talent they have. What's interesting will be to see how well that clicks in their second year of play together as a team as their ambitions grow with their talent.
Yeah, Sweet 16 last year for the LA Gambits before being knocked out by, right now, the reigning champs, the reigning 3-time champs, the University of Texas. And you know, a lot of people not picking Texas to get it done this year, 4-0 after day 1. You can base that on their pool play, but you can also say, you know, they still got it done when it mattered right now.
Absolutely. They've always been a team that got themselves to a place where they could succeed, and that's what's happened today. They put themselves in a great position as A&M scores here on the pitch. That's 20-10 A&M. But UT has put themselves in a good position, but there's still a lot of playing left to happen. All these teams are exhibiting wonderful play, and we need to keep our eyes on everybody other than UT, too.
Bowling Green went 4-0 coming out of Pool 3. And Pool 4, the Pool of Death, did you think there would be a team coming out 4-0? Well, Rochester United did just that.
Absolutely, and what we're seeing, especially the Gambits here on this pitch, is the rise of community teams. There have been a lot of players coming in through this league and coming out of college saying, I still want to play. This is a great sport. And you're seeing all that talent come together in Rochester United, Gambits, Lone Star Quidditch Club, and it's undeniable that they are a force to be reckoned with.
And Kansas didn't see a final score against Maelstrom, but those were two teams fighting for that final spot coming out of Pool 4. And Kansas is a team that a lot of people counted out.
Oddly enough, I myself among them. And that's another surprise I was happy to see today, is Kansas doing really well. They had some trouble early on, but I'm really happy to see that that's a program that stays alive today.
And recovering from trouble early on, you see a great phenomenon at World Cup Quidditch in particular. Teams that have strong day ones and perhaps struggle on day two, and some teams on day one going 2-2 and then making a great push to make it into the final rounds on day two. How you recover overnight and how you come out the next day with a new, fresh take on the game will be the difference.
Well said. We approach the 12-minute mark, tied at 20.
That's why it's important to not count your quaffles before they hatch. UT has 4-0, but the night
He's
is all
been
about...
saving that one.
UT is 4-0, but again, like Claire said, the night is very, very important. How they come back the second day. You're going to feel sore, you're going to have a buildup of lactic acid, and you're going to have some things that you want to change, but your body may not be able to keep up with you.
Some great endurance we've seen so far is I don't think that beater for the LA Gambits, Alyssa Burton, has subbed off so far. Herself recently named to the Team USA roster for this summer's upcoming World Cup.
Absolutely. You're going to see stars like that all throughout the Gambits roster. We've got Dustin Mazzella, also a beater for the Gambits, who a former fame of Arizona State University, definitely carried a lot of that team on his back to 3 different World Cups. And it's really exciting to see 2 different World Cups. It's really exciting to see him, himself, and Alyssa Burton come together.
Inside of 12 minutes now, and a little spin and finish there. Texas A&M back in front.
What will be interesting will be to see how LA responds to this. They struggled a bit earlier in the day in a game against the Warriors, but once they figured out how to make it click, there was no stopping them, and they ran away for the game. So we'll see if they can figure out that same key in the lock of Texas A&M.
Take us through, as former players and current players, what your body is feeling right now, going through a long day. It's been warm at times, but now playing under the lights, much cooler conditions, getting down to the upper 40s.
It's much more easier to get injured at this time of night. Your muscles are cooling down, you've had a long day, and you've maybe lost some teammates along the way, and you're being pushed to take longer shifts and try harder. Although I always found as a player there's a certain adrenaline to be found at the end of the day under the lights. Maybe you've had some shorter shifts earlier in the day, and this is your last chance to leave it all on the field, and maybe you find a bite in the night air.
About 10 minutes and 45 seconds left on the Seeker floor, and as we go along that note, I think that this is where A&M has the advantage. They play in a very team-dense region. Oh, and an amazing spinning falling shot from Texas A&M, and it looks like it was no good. But A&M has the team density in their region where they can play all-day tournaments without a problem. They have the teams to come and play on a regular basis. The Western region is a larger region that has plenty of teams with the Gambits to play, but that's where it comes down to. You have to have the training to play all day, all night, and be able to come back the next day.
10:21 on the clock and a stoppage in play. 30-20 your score. Texas A&M leading the LA Gambits. Good crowd on hand. A lot of people sticking around. Our final match of the night here on pitch 1.
This has been a match that not only myself have been anticipating, but again, this crowd that you're talking about, this is one of the best games to watch because it's a clash of 2 different strong, prominent regions, and these are some of the best out of those regions.
And you're waiting for this crowd tomorrow to be filled around the rim.
Absolutely.
For the championship.
It's going to sound and look great here at Salute Shoals Park. Now, Brad, as you've seen everything happen on pitch 1 today, what have been some of your favorite highlights or maybe favorite teams that have come through and really played?
Favorite highlight, can't take it back to the team right now, but I had one chaser today jump through the hoop and score at the same time. And the opponent did not agree with that being able to count, but it certainly did.
Oh, I'm sure if that happened to me, I wouldn't agree with it either. But that is 100% legal and 100% fun to watch.
In fact, I might even be able to take you back. It was Ohio State player doing that to Richmond. It did not go Richmond's way in that match.
Brad, you didn't remember that it was an Ohio State player.
Showmanship always been a big part of the game, as we see a great goal here for the LA Gambits.
Showmanship is the name of the game often for this team. You're going to see a lot of great play out of Tony Rodriguez. We're going to see a lot of great drama out of Tony Rodriguez. It's a lot of pushing and pain that a lot of these players go through. But at the end of the day, they may not have what's left in the tank, but they're going to find something.
Certainly the match that sticks out to me here on pitch 1 today is DCQC defeating Texas Cavalry today. That was an impressive match. They were fired up about it, and it was well-deserved.
Very indicative, too, of the Mid-Atlantic's strong showing at this tournament, with George Mason and DCQC, along with a number of other schools from the region, really finding their stride and finding a lot of success on day one, as we have another goal here for the LA Gambits.
And back-to-back goals, they now lead at 40-30.
Rodriguez camped behind the hoops, ready for the pass, had the ball, had a bludger whiz right by him, and again, showmanship, made the play right in the center hoop.
One of those players who really takes entertaining the crowd to be as much a part of the game as putting the ball through the hoop.
A&M with the ball coming into the neutral zone and a beater escort. That's something that has really evolved with the game is bludger play. And a beater escort is almost imperative if you have an offensive beater to spare. Coming up, it really pushes back and brings the defense into a zone where you can manage them a lot better and tightens up your offense. Rodriguez steals the ball back on the right side, misses a bludger, and dunks it in the right hoop.
50-30. Now, Eric and Claire, I'll put you on the spot. Both of you have an opportunity to answer this. Final four coming down tomorrow. Who are your final four at the end of the day?
I'd say it's safe bet that there's going to be a Texas team in that Final Four. I'm going to take that cop out for now, but I'm pretty sure Claire has an idea.
Puts the pressure right back on. We'll give you to the 6-minute mark to write down or think about your Final Four.
Do you have any ideas, Brad?
Right now I'm putting Texas in there to be there. QC Boston, didn't get a lot to see about them, but I've been impressed by the numbers they put up today.
Love to hear about them.
Just the overall commentary from it, that they have just looked like a dominant, experienced team.
They've
Absolutely.
incredibly found their stride this year. Have suffered with some drama and team politics in the past, but they've really clicked into what's going to make them a successful team and relying on their talent and working together. And we've seen that today. I would not bet against them not being in the Final Four.
Yeah, and QC Boston was one of the earlier community teams to come from very talented graduates. And luckily enough for us who are on community teams now, they went through the strife, they went through the struggle of how do we form this, how do we still talk to the people we played with. QC Boston has had that history and has come out on top. And coming out today, it's obvious that they've worked out the kinks, they know what's going on, and they have the right core players to make it to the top.
And one team that I know is looking forward to trying to get back to that championship, Lone Star QC, after falling short last year. They're perfect after day one. Rochester United, perfect after day one. So a couple of other teams that can be added in there for the Final Four.
Absolutely. There are some imperfect teams that need to watch out for. RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, a little-known school, but a big-known Quidditch team, has been really playing well today. I think they're 3-1 in their pool. But what's to watch for them is their hands. They have great catching, great passing, and they just have triangles and run circles around the defense. So they may not, or they may make it to the Final Four, but they're definitely a team to watch for tomorrow.
And you mentioned RPI being 3-1. You look at a couple of teams in Pool 12 with them. North Carolina, the top team in that pool, a team from Texas as well, Texas Tech.
Absolutely. They've had a hard schedule, and other teams have had harder. But RPI really rose to the occasion. They have the speed and they have the know-how. They have a couple of veteran players and a deep bench. A couple of things that really help a Quidditch team when it comes down to it.
Speaking of the strong hands on RPI, we just saw a great display of that from LA Gambits beater Steve DiCarlo, formerly a seeker, now switched to a beater, still putting that great hand-eye coordination and that great eye for strategy to the test in a different position and finding a lot of success with it.
You look at those top two teams one more time from Pool 12. The separation between North Carolina and RPI, final score 180 to 160.
That's a hell of a differential.
Inside of 6 minutes, 70 to 30. Make that 80 to 30 now. LA Gambits on a 6-goal run.
Gambits are drawing their talent and experience from their older players. Like we said, Steve DiCarlo, he is a product of the Emerson College Quidditch program. Emerson was and probably still is one of the largest college programs with sometimes up to 300 active players. He's from Hofstra. I was talking about somebody else, I'm sure, but Hofstra Flying Dutchman, DiCarlo led them to some great victories at World Cup 5, and he brings his experience to the Gambits.
Much needed goal for Texas A&M. They trail by 4 goals. Gambit's trying to answer, and that one's good.
Tony with another one. Steve DiCarlo, another great example of coast-to-coast Quidditch migrants, people wanting to stay with the game, not just with communities in their area, but really wanting to bring it with them wherever they may travel in their career, in their life, and we'll see how long and how much that changes the game as we see some of these top athletes really progress through their lives.
Inside of 5 minutes now until the Seeker floor.
90-40 in favor of the Gambits. And we've seen some excellent one-off plays here, but I'm really looking for some more team play. Both of these teams have the players to do it, but a lot of hero balls happening and might become sloppy. And with a score getting us up to 90-50, closer and closer to Snitch range as we count down to 4:21. We have a stoppage of play. Michael Clark-Polner, who is head refereeing this match, is a very experienced and knowledgeable referee, often somebody who a lot of people go to for rules clarifications and how to play and how to monitor yourself as a referee.
Or in this case, hoop modifications as we fix a broken piece of equipment.
Absolutely. One of the greatest things about Quidditch, as you may have seen on the live stream today, is PVC. It's cheap, light, strong, perfect for our Quidditch applications. Sometimes it may not look so good, but it works so good.
Should be back up and running here momentarily with 4:21 on the clock.
Looks like Rodriguez for the Gambits is feigning tiredness right now. We just saw some finger guns after that dunk, so I would not be surprised to see some more showmanship out of Rodriguez.
This is the time of night when a long day of play sets in. We may see some of these players suffering from cramps or fatigue, although there's no sign of that on the surface as of yet.
No, that's just us. 90-50 your score, approaching the 4-minute mark.
Rodriguez dodges a bullet matrix style bludger past the shoulder, still walking around his keeper zone with a down to DiCarlo at mid-pitch.
Player down for the LA Gambits right at midfield.
Looked like a bit of a beater tussle with some possible strong contact.
Now, as I said before, a beater and bludger play is very integral to a good Quidditch team. What are some of your favorite Quidditch teams that have a great beater duo that really command the pitch for their team?
Lost Boys really come to mind. They don't often always play together, but there's really no beating Mike Molman and Chris Setto when they are on the pitch together. Not only are they great players, they've been really pioneers throughout their careers of beating strategies and, in particular, offensive beating, really being ambassadors for that kind of play that we've seen to be so exciting across the sport as more and more teams have cottoned on to it.
There's a top beater in Molly Lensing for Lone Star Quidditch Club. Unfortunately, sidelined for this tournament out for ACL surgery, but that does not leave LSQC high and dry for the beaters play. They have some excellent beaters that have been carrying them through and meeting our expectations as far as LSQC goes.
Earlier today, I was quite impressed with the beater talent on Minnesota, particularly with regards to seeker beating, which is still an area that a lot of top teams, even top teams, really struggle with to apply correctly. So it was really great to see that across the board, and Minnesota for sure has that strategy on lock.
Rodriguez with the ball, passing it up to Justine Taylor on the right side, bringing it back into the zone. Back to Rodriguez, bumbles the ball, and he's got a beater escort in Burton.
And bludger control here for the LA Gambits as they look to continue to keep this lead just out of snitch range.
DiCarlo moving into the 1.5 bludger strategy, leaving his own at home to go up and target A&M and hope up to open some avenues for his own chasers.
Now, for the folks at home, the 1.5 bludger strategy is when your team has basic control of 2 bludgers, but one of the beaters is in control of 2 of them. The other beater that has just freed themselves of the bludger goes in on offense and tries to disrupt the defensive beater strategy. You're seeing that right now with Burton on the left side, taking care not to touch 2 bludgers at the same time, because that is against the rules. But it really, really gives your offense an up when they have somebody to occupy a defensive beater.
And sometimes, in this case, DeCarlo's goal is not necessarily to steal a bludger, as he already has one for himself waiting at home, but simply to prevent A&M's lone beater from doing their job.
And blocking somebody for coming in straight through their lane into the hoops.
Precisely.
Now we started to see that sort of that talent and that strategy come together in multiple regions at once. It's hard to pinpoint who did it first, but there is a start date practically for the 1.5 beater strategy. There's going to be a few schools and few teams that will claim that 1.5, oh, we did that before all of us, but it's now the standard. Each team may not play it all the time, but it's a definite need-to-know strategy.
So we look on now, another team, I think might not have been talked about too much, finishing the day 4-0, Rutgers coming out on top. Saw them earlier, they had a nice 1-2 punch on the attack with Aaron Sebia and Hazlitt.
Rutgers has been a really fantastic success story today. Few people, if any, really expected this kind of showing out of them, and they've really proved a lot of people wrong.
Pool 1, you look at the top 3 teams going to come out of there, Rutgers, Ball State, and Fighting Farmers of America, who actually lost on pitch 1 to start the day here to Ball State. Approaching 3 minutes.
Fighting Farmers, another one of those community teams struggling to find cohesion within the team, but really finding it over the course of day 1. And it's a testament to some of the experience and talent you see on community teams or teams with players with a lot of experience, quick adaptation to other strategies as well as their own teammates over the course of a tournament.
Michigan finishing 4-0, coming out of Pool 6 with teams like Oklahoma State, Tennessee Tech, Penn State, and RIT.
2 minutes, 31 seconds, counting down on the clock. 9-5, Dolly Parton 90-50 here. LA Gambits up. When you have this little time left in the game, for the seeker floor and this much elapsed since the last score, you know that both teams are biding their time to really engage during the seeker play. When the seeker comes out to catch the snitch off the snitch runner, there's a whole lane opened up for quaffle play, and I think both of these teams are ready to maximize on that.
Thrown in front and a turnover. Texas A&M going to slow it down. They brought a lot of numbers back there to keep that one out of the hoop. Inside of 2 minutes now.
It's been a clean, fun game so far from both teams we know are very capable of exercising their physicality when they need to. It's been a fantastic game to see. Lots of action and lots of bludgers going back and forth here.
Yeah, you don't have to see a lot of points on the board to see a well-executed game on both sides.
And we're going to be seeing some advantage calls here. Number 25 for A&M, shoving a lot of people in the back after missing some balls. Refs may or may not call it, and they have seen it, but there is some physicality. As soon as he says something, they're bringing it out. We have 1:36 left on the floor here, and tension is running high, and so are tempers. And it's important to harness that energy and bring it in for your team, not for yourself.
Referees conferring. 1:36 on the clock, 90-50 your score. Gambits in front.
Michael Clark-Polner coming out with the card, yellow for number 25 on A&M, and for Gambits player number 24. 2 yellow cards coinciding. They're not going to cancel out here. Both serving time. 25 making his case to MCP, a brick wall, as play will resume very shortly.
Games late at night with large crowds in particular tend to be when the tensions emerge. I remember playing in one myself, a World Cup 6, one of the last slots of the day under the lights. It had big implications for whether or not our team would move forward, and really what it came down to was who was going to keep their cool and who was going to play their game. So we'll see how that emerges in this game right now with 1:36 left on the clock until the snitch enters.
And it will all depend here now on the seeding, but thing is, we could see this matchup tomorrow.
Absolutely, and I would be excited to do that. Seeing this matchup again would really give both of these teams another reason to kind of come at each other, because when you have one game, it's easy to leave it on the field. You come back again, you pick right up where you left off. It's going to see how it ends up. Still, again, at the beginning of play here, it's 1:36 on the clock. There's a lot of time left in this game. But Alyssa Burton with the beat over in their own zone. Rodriguez looking for the pickup, but an A&M chaser is fighting for it at the middle field. Beaters come in for the offense, and it looks like it's
Beaters now in a struggle of their own, really unable to help out the chaser scrum going on.
Gambits come up with 2 bludgers, coming in hot on offense, looking for that quaffle, and it's back to the
What
A&M.
a tackle there. Able to get a hold of the jersey for a moment. Still looking for a score, and that's good.
A laser through the middle hoop for the LA Gambits.
And that's exactly what the Gambits needed at this time. You're now at a minute and a 5-goal advantage out of snitch range.
4 goals is something that you can keep in mind, and it's very attainable. You got one in, and you're in snitch range. 5 goals is something else here. It's a kind of a horse of a different color, but again, 45 seconds is a long time in a Quidditch match.
Horse of a different color. You might even say it's a whole other ball game.
No, I might not.
And player down for Texas A&M with 33 seconds on the clock. And the medic, I believe, being waved over.
This is a scary reminder of a game I was assistant reffing. I think it was quarterfinals of World Cup 7. A&M against another Texas team. Very, very quick snap back of the neck that ended up with a stretcher. Now, I've seen a lot of good play today because the rules and the teams have really tightened up in the last few years, which is speaking to Quidditch growing as an exponential sport. But that does not mean we're all immune to injury or prevention of injury. Both of these teams have been working hard to win, but when you're working hard to win, you have to make sure you're working hard to stay healthy and keep yourself strong to prevent injury.
A&M player up now and walking off under his own power will resume shortly. For such a large crowd, there's a noticeable lack of sway for one team or the other. I remember lots of high-stakes World Cup games where the crowd seems to be pulling for one team over the other, and it can have an effect on the game, not just in the morale of the teams, but in the tension and the drama that's added to each play.
Well, and seeing some of the teams you have around here as well, a little bit of scouting is going on as well.
Absolutely, you have to see your competition for the next day. A lot of pools have closed right now. This is our last game, I believe, one of our last games, and people tend to know who they're going to be playing the next day. Brackets are coming out, and this is an excellent time to sit down with your team. There's a lot of distractions that have gone away from the regular part of the day, and it's a great time to talk, observe, discuss, and really pinpoint what you need to improve tomorrow.
We resume play inside of 33 seconds until the seeker floor. 100-50 your score with the LA Gambits leading.
Our snitch Gabe Unick, who I think was a wrestler.
Absolutely.
I may have heard that before.
Saw him earlier today.
He may have told me that once, or somebody else, maybe it was he that told me that a couple of times. But a very, very physically capable player that's going to give both of these teams a run for their money. Like I said, 45 seconds was a lot of time in Quidditch, and after this seeker floor ends, we're going to have a lot more time when you have a talented snitch.
And here we go, one more score for Texas A&M, 100-60. This is where A&M's got to play a little bit of defense here for a moment, try and get one more score.
The seeker's a big part of the game, but seeker beating will be just as important, especially as A&M will be defending. So LA Gambit seeker will have not only A&M's beaters to contend with, but the snitch acting defensively. So there's going to be a lot of attention focused in and around the snitch.
And it is Edgar Pavlovsky, the seeker right now for the LA Gambits. Final match of the day, day 2 tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. Trying to clear some space for Pavlovsky to go to work. He's got one-on-one, then hit by the bludger.
Looking at seeker and bludger play, it's a good way to see where a team is in their growth and development. If a team is not paying attention to the seeker and the snitch when the snitch is on the pitch, they have some ways to go. If they have a team that is putting all their pressure on with the bludgers on the Snitch, they still have some ways to go. It's a delicate balance. You have to know what you're doing and what your goal you need to achieve is in order to be effective both on Quaffle and on Snitch when it's on the pitch.
Fear can play a big part in that, and especially with teams who, even though they may have the lead, fear giving up goals and relinquishing that lead to the other team who may then be able to catch the Snitch. However, it's important to keep in mind that a goal is 10 points and catching the Snitch is 30. The sooner you do it, the better for you.
And up ahead, too long of a pass, otherwise A&M might have made this a 3-goal game.
A&M driving from behind the hoops.
The referees with their hands up.
Snitch signaling it's no good catch. It's going to be up to the ref crew and the Snitch together. The crowd goes wild, but oftentimes it is premature here in Quidditch. We're going to see here with the referees as they consult. Now, Claire, somebody who's seen a lot of bludger or beater on seeker play, what are the top 3 things that beaters need to know about when a Snitch comes back on pitch?
Well, the top thing is communication with your seeker. If it's someone on your team, you're going to have a repertoire. You're going to know what they prefer you to do. You're going to want to know where they want you to concentrate your energy, whether that be on the other seeker or the other team's beaters. So communicating with them and making sure you're going up with them is the most important thing. Quick recovery being another big one. There's a lot of balls flying and a lot of people moving in close to each other. The other team's beaters, balls or not, are going to come up there to try to recover yours. The quicker you can recover it, the quicker you can make another beat to help your seeker stay in the game or to rejoin the Quaffle game.
Absolutely, and the turnaround is a very important part in this sport. Turnaround not only in catching the Quaffle and immediately releasing it into the hoops, but turnaround when you drop the bludger, you throw the bludger, you retrieve the bludger. There's a lot that can happen in a split second that you're spending to bend down to pick up the bludger. Both of these teams have ball urgency, which is number 1 on my team, to get to the ball because the play has not stopped. It's making for really exciting Quidditch, a really good technical play to watch. So a lot of teams that are watching this right now have something to learn, whether they're a veteran or new teams.
A lot of discussion going on here. Do we have overtime or do we not? It would be the second time that overtime would be happening today on pitch 1.
As we all know, the crowd can absolutely influence the head referee's decision on how to call the game. And when I say that, I'm lying. Michael Clark-Polner is absolutely in control of this pitch. And as referee myself, you set the boundaries from the beginning. And it's going to be a really excellent call, no matter what he says.
We do have overtime. That's what the crowd wanted.
MCP calls good catch. The score is tied 10-10 going into first overtime.
A&M clearly feeling invigorated by that victory and a chance to win it all over again.
Well, at one play you'll remember back now, it was 80-30, a 6-goal run for the LA Gambits, only to see that erased.
Absolutely, you had a 5-point lead, and you're holding that sort of pressure over the other team. When they bring it back and you're going into a break between overtime, what's going through your head? What do you have to adjust for in the first overtime?
Two teams both 3-0 coming into their final match of the day, looking for that high seed coming out of their own pool.
Based on what we've seen so far in this match, either team, no matter the outcome here, is going to come away with a good position for tomorrow. We have some other teams from other brackets, other pools that are 3-1 and doing well. There's some 2-2 teams that are really impressive, but they've had some hard matchups. Either way, one of these teams is going to be 4-0, one of them's going to be 3-1. They're going to be in a great position to do well tomorrow. So this is a great game to watch. Doesn't decide everything, but how they play is going to decide how they play tomorrow.
And how they react to the loss being important as well, especially for such top-tier teams who are rather unaccustomed to losing on any kind of regular basis. How you recover that and how that factors into your play going forward is a big part of not only your play, but your team mentality and your preparation for the full day's game ahead.
Now, if you're watching at home here in local South Carolina, Columbia's got a great park out here at Saluda Shoals, and looking at ticket prices, they're pretty great for the day, but if you want some extra cupcakes or maybe even a private bathroom, you can upgrade to a VIP experience that includes catered food, alcohol, and plenty of nice private dining before you can come back out and watch some great gameplay.
I think someone just booked a Carnival cruise. Tied at 100.
Somebody just got a
tour
cupcake delivered
now.
to him, and for anybody that's listening, I cannot. Well, yeah, I can be bribed.
He'll be quiet for the next, maybe I'd say 30 seconds. The Snitch continuing to stay loose as both teams gather together.
Those look like some sort of warm-ups from, I can't put my finger on the sport. I think Gabe has experience in the sport before this. Is it wrestling?
I think you may be right.
Oh, okay.
Less than 2 minutes to count down till we will resume play.
Both teams already on the pitch, clearly eager to restart and eager for what I'm sure will be the carb-loaded meals and ice baths to follow.
Speaking of ice baths, the lake very close to Saluda Shoals Park is an easy, icy, bracing 60 degrees. And that's really going to cool your muscles down. It's a large lake. A lot of players, spectators have been staying on the lake, visiting the lake, and it's going to be a great place to come in after this game and jump in.
Stay away from the river, though. Saw some snapping turtles yesterday.
Hey, whatever gets the lactic acid out, right?
If you're a fan of snapping turtles.
Your local tip from Ranger Brad.
45 seconds until we will begin play.
Overtime in Quidditch is, of course, the Snitch's one opportunity to win the game, a rare occurrence. But should they last the full 5 minutes, the Snitch then, I guess, would be the winner of the game.
It's actually great to see a Snitch come away as a winner. Snitches in Quidditch are the perennial losers because they put their hearts and bodies out there only for another team to succeed over them. It's a very selfless position, but it's a very physical position, and sometimes when you're rewarded like that, it's worth it.
And you know Gabe's got a little bit of payback on his mind after the way it ended. Didn't end the way he expected it to force overtime.
Absolutely. The Snitch Runner is essentially another referee. But not everybody has eyes in the back of their heads and sees how a snitch tail can be caught from the rear of their waist.
Andrew Murray of the LA Gambits in collision right at the middle of the pitch with number 8 for Texas A&M, and a yellow card is being given.
It looks like a lowered shoulder for number 24, which can be a dangerous situation when coming in off of brooms up.
Would that be the second yellow card for number 24?
I think it would be. I can't remember if it resets within regular time or overtime. I'm a great ref.
Just 5 seconds gone by here in overtime. We will resume play. Texas A&M will have the quaffle.
Essentially restarting right at the brooms up line. This will be a great push for momentum.
And here we go.
Texas A&M, as they've switched sides in the first overtime, bringing it slow and deliberately up in the middle of the pitch. Keeper for A&M's looking for passing options. There's a lot of movements happening around in the Gambits defense. Passing off to the right, forward pass back into the key, and it's a shot and good.
A&M in front.
Number 8 for A&M on Chaser having a fantastic game. A great goal from him, but some great play all game long.
And the Seekers now on the pitch for both sides.
Now, a lot of attention gets paid to the Snitch in the overtime because that's the easiest way to score and end the game. Now, UBC, University of British Columbia, playing earlier today against Cal, was able to beat the Cal Berkeley Bears in overtime by quaffle points. Not something you see very often, and something that UBC was very excited about, to come out there, show that you can still play for the quaffle, even with the Snitch out on overtime.
Tony Rodriguez, the Seeker right now for the LA Gambits, being urged on by the crowd. Rodriguez going to go back to work. Whistle's blown.
And as mentioned earlier, you see both LA Gambits beaters positioned on the Snitch. They know how crucial this is going to be for them, and they're prepared to spend quite a lot of time guarding and giving Tony Rodriguez the time he needs to try and make that catch.
And what changes, if anything, from regular time to overtime when you're a beater guarding the Snitch for your team? Is there different strategies or something you have to add on or focus more on, or is it more of the same?
Opportunity here.
For me, it's a lot more of the same, although it starts right off the bat as the Seeker really almost starts overtime. But that is still the crucial role, although having an eye on the clock and making sure that if you are down by quaffle points to save some time to help your team get a few goals before the end.
Approaching the 3-minute mark.
A&M still up 110 to 100. That 10-point lead is imperative win in overtime, but a snitch catch could end it right here. Gabe Unick defending very well against A&M Seeker, throwing him down, and a nice move. Beaters on top of it, ready to defend for the next snatch.
Gambit's quaffle players appear to be spending a lot of time doing what's known as slow balling, trying to slow down the offense and give their beaters the time they need to focus on that snitch and giving them less to do, while all simultaneously frustrating the A&M offense.
Pavlovsky going back to work for the Gambits. A&M also on the attack. 2:21 on the clock, and we have a whistle. The referee's discussing this.
Now, a lot of games can drag on through the night past regulation time, but that happens when normally a snitch goes into handicaps. The first handicap is stay between each keeper zone. Second handicap is stay on the line. And you get some other handicaps with arms and keeping them pinned behind the back. But this is a different situation that has a lot more pressure for both teams in overtime. It's a sudden death scenario when you catch that snitch. This is something that you don't see a whole lot with this sort of bracket play, but it's really exciting to see.
Both teams clearly itching to resume play here.
The scene is beginning to be set as a fog starts to roll in. And being from Arizona myself, fog is a foreign concept, and it makes things more eerie, but it's really helping close in the excitement on this overtime game. Still 110 to 10 as the play is still stopped. Advantage to A&M.
And here we go. We resume play approaching the 2-minute mark. 110 to 100 right now. Gambit's in front.
Big beat from number 23 on A&M against beaters Steve DiCarlo, number 3 for the Gambits.
Now inside of 2 minutes. The snitch still loose on the pitch.
Let's go!
Pavlovsky going to work. Pavlovsky somehow avoided the bludger there.
It's been a great role play for his team all day, and this is his chance to make one last difference.
Now 120 to 100. Excuse me, 120 to 110. Points were added on both sides. We are even at 110.
Gabe Unick still in there and ready for a fight as a snitch. A lot of great plays and grapples coming through, especially against the Gambit Seeker, who's been really giving him a hard time.
Clock continues to wind down, approaching a minute.
With a huge goal from A&M.
And bludger play gives the snitch a rest for the moment. Here
Crowd
comes the
goes
Seeker
wild.
for the Gambits.
Under a minute left to play here, 120. And another goal for the Gambits. That's number 41 for the Gambits. The Seeker on the left side, tying it up 120 to 120.
And we're back to even.
With
45 seconds. Glad we're on the same page. And the snitch has been caught.
A&M with the catch.
Referees
Wait,
do have to confirm before this. Again, the crowd cannot call the plays. It may seem clear-cut from here, but the Snitch refs are trained and ready to call the right call.
And the same player for A&M that forced overtime may have just given Texas A&M the match and a perfect 4-0 on day one.
Referees are having some sort of consensus. When it takes this long, something needs to be discussed. It's not cut and dry.
And that's it. Texas A&M wins.
Number 19 with both catches to give Texas A&M the victory over the Los Angeles Gambits on the last game of day one of U.S. Quidditch Cup 9.
What a day one it has been. A beautiful day here at Saluda Shoals Park in Columbia, South Carolina. Eric, Claire, your final thoughts for today?
It's really going to come down to how both of these teams come back. A&M just came out of a win, but they need to keep their eyes on the prize. They may have beat a really great team in the Gambits, but they have to keep themselves up, ready for the next day, because they have a lot of other perfect teams to match up against in day two. Now the Gambits, they're coming off a loss, and they're a very heartful team, and it can take it to heart, and it could go the wrong way. They need to come together tonight, talk about what needs to happen, talk about their capabilities as a team moving forward, because if they don't bring it together, they'll never be able to do it tomorrow.
Again, on that theme of recovery, we're seeing some great displays of sportsmanship and camaraderie here on the field after a very tense game. Hopefully that bodes well for both teams being able to take this, either a win or a loss, as the push they need to take into tomorrow.
All right, day one of U.S. Quidditch Cup 9 in Columbia, South Carolina is in the books. Tomorrow this time we will have crowned a champion. Will Texas four-peat? Will it be QC Boston coming out on top? Will it be a team from the Southwest region? Find out tomorrow right here on the U.S. Quidditch live stream. For Clare Hutchinson and Eric Andrus, I'm Brad Woznicki. We'll see you tomorrow.